Do you like it when MCs demonstrate their crazy power? If so, then you're in luck. Hey guys, my name's Leia and welcome to Anime Recap Pro. Today we'll check out the hit series Twin Star Exorcists, but before we get started, please like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate your support, and with that, let's get started. Monsters called Kegare live in a parallel world called Magano. Exorcists go there to get rid of all kinds of bad things. Benio Adashino is a powerful young exorcist who is called to Tokyo by the Exorcist Union because of how strong she is. On her way, she falls into the arms of Rokuro and Mado, a young exorcist with a troubled past. A Kagare take two children. Benio rushes to save them, dragging Rokuro into Magano with her. Benio is in a fight where she's about to lose, but Rokuro comes to her rescue and shows that he is as skilled as she is. Rokuro and Benio start to dislike one another right after the battle with the Kagare. Returning to the Saika dormitory and discovering that Benio will reside there astounds Rokuro. The exorcist leader, Arima Tsuchimikado, arrives the following morning and commands that all regional leaders converse in the five-mirror chamber. When everyone is gathered, he declares that a prophecy he recently received reveals the identity of Miko, the most powerful exorcist who will purge all Kegare. He then forces Benio and Rokuro to engage in combat after coaxing Rokuro into it by dispurging his deceased buddies. Benio's assault on Rokuro forces him to use all of his might. Arima cancels out the two people's enchantments just as they are about to hurt one another, breaking up the conflict. She then apologizes to Rokuro for insulting his companions. The prophecy foretells that Rokuro and Benio would wed and have a child named Miko. He then shares this information. After having a nightmare about getting married to Benio, Rokuro awakens. Ryogo instructs him to assist Benio now that she is transferred to his school before departing for an exorcism. The news that she will take the same class as him irks Rokuro. Benio departs to help Ryogo and his group when they encounter difficulties during their exorcism. After school, Rokuro's childhood friend Mayura Otomi decides to accompany him to an amusement park after noticing he has been acting melancholy lately. The park's roller coaster gets damaged by the enormous Kagare that Benio is battling, leaving the two kids dangling precariously in one of the vehicles. Just before the automobile is about to fall off the track, Benio kills the monster and Rokuro saves the two youngsters. On the drive home, Mayura explains to Rokuro that situations like these are when he's at his coolest. One late night, Ryogo confides in Benio for his desire for Rokuro to resume his exorcist duties. The following day, right before Ryogo departs for an exorcism, the two get into a fight. When Ryogo, Shinosuke, and Atsushi arrive at the house they are supposed to exorcise, where 11 individuals have vanished over time. They discover a room teeming with evil energy. They run into a huge two-headed Kagare as they enter the Magano, throwing Shinosuke and Atsushi back out the gate and leaving Ryogo behind. They return to the dorm exhausted, telling Rokuro what had happened, which forces him to ask Benio for assistance in saving his friend. Ryogo is being severely battered by the two-headed Kagara while missing the gate talismans that would have let him flee Magano. He is about to be devoured until Rokuro arrives and saves him by punching the monster. Rokuro is able to kill the two-headed one when Benio joins them to assist in repelling a horde of similar Kagare. They head back to the dorm after he offers Ryogo an apology for their altercation earlier that day. Rokuro stays behind to thank Benio as Shinosuke and Atsushi take Ryogo to the hospital. Kagare sightings have increased in Rokuro's hometown of Narukami. Rokuro sees his friend Ryogo in the hospital where he starts to regret giving up exorcism, and Arima sends fresh exorcists to investigate. Benio, Rokuro, and the other hostel guests save a group of kidnapped elementary school pupils from attacks by Kagare. Shaimon Akaruga, the newest of the 12 guardians and exorcist, arrives to assist them and promptly defeats the Kagare. Shaimon initially misjudges Rokuro's strength, but Benio steps in and summons Shaimon back to Kyoto before he can continue his investigation. Rokuro understands that Shaimon has inspired him to carry out the exorcism. Because Benio keeps leaving school early, raising the possibility that she might be hanging out with gangsters, she starts making attempts to approach her, but they fail. Because Ryogo just left the hospital, Rokuro surprises everyone by volunteering to assist with an exorcism back at the hostel. The following morning, Ryogo instructs Benio to abstain from the exorcisms for the day and let Rokuro handle them, so she heads outside to go jogging. She meets Mayura and they become friends over ohagi, Benio's favorite dish. Benio is forced to open a gate and save a spectator from the Kagare as a fisher to Magano emerges outside of the structure as they are eating. As she comes back, she discovers Mayura waiting with her bated breath. As Rokuro returns from the exorcism, he discovers Mayura living with Benio in the hospital and is upset about it. Jizama discovers something unsettling in Magamo in the meantime. Rokuro and Benio are taken to a lovely home by Arima after telling them that their trial is starting. After giving them the go-ahead to live there together, he departs with Benio's Kinako. They must work together to reach an air vent that is close to the ceiling when the walls retract and the floor tilts. This is their first trial. Arima informs them in a video that shows on the screen. After several unsuccessful efforts, they finally reach the top and enter the vent when Rokuro receives a call from Atsushi asking for help. They learn that they must solve a puzzle to escape and restore the rooms. When Rokuro finds the solution, they help him defeat a powerful Kagare. One of her favorite hairpins is subsequently found to be missing as discovered by Benio. When they get home, they find out in the vent. Benio recounts that after their parents had passed away, her twin brother gave it to her before he was killed during a Kagare exorcism. Mayura is concerned about Rokuro and Benio living together when she first goes to their new villa, but she soon starts to worry about Rokuro returning to his exorcist job. A Kagare kidnaps Mayura when she leaves a charm to defend herself. After saving her, Rokuro and Benio are powerless to stop the monster until Mayura's father, Seigen Amawaka, arrives. Seigen challenges Rokuro to a duel and reveals that, similar to what occurred in Hinatsuki 2 years ago, someone with a strong spell power can change into a Kagare. Benio is shocked when Seigen reveals that Rokuro killed all of the exorcist trainees by himself. Rokuro was the lone survivor of that calamity. Rokuro begins to scold Benio with her sword as soon as she learns that Ito Ichika is his twin brother, but Seigen steps in and says that there's more to the story. A person with a mask approaches at that precise moment and emerges to be Ito. Rokuro, shocked to see him alive, attacks him but manages to overpower him without the use of any talismans. Seigen continues by saying that instances of Kagara corruption were to blame for the Hinatsuki catastrophe. In a flashback from 2 years ago, residents of Hinatsuki Dormitory attend a ceremony that Ito organized under the pretense of empowering others. In truth, the entire procedure was performed on all of the exorcist trainees as test subjects for him to get immense spiritual power. The trainees endure Kagare's transformation as impure horrors spread throughout the hostel, preventing them from fleeing, only with Rokuro himself able to defend the nightmare. Rokuro was compelled to end the catastrophe by exorcising his classmates after winning his Kagare arm. Since that time, Rokuro has been traumatized by the tragedy, leaving him to give up his work as an exorcist. Benio is extremely perplexed that her formerly gentle brother would commit the catastrophe in the present. Ito, however, asserts that he has been lying to everyone and has never truly cared for his family. Rokuro attacks him wildly with fists, but Ito consistently deflects him with a similar arm. When Ito acknowledges Rokuro's potential and retreats, Benio steps in to stop the fight since he sees no progress is being made. Coming home, a sorrowful Benio earnestly apologizes to Rokuro for her brother's wrongdoings. As Seigen looks after Mayura, he receives medical attention. The young exorcists promise to work together to get stronger to stop Ito's actions due to Rokuro's newfound aim, which accepts Benio's collaboration. Benio and Rokuro beg Seigen to assist them in their training, but he declines. Fortunately, Subaru Mitejima, Benio's previous teacher, shows up and offers to teach them. Instead of giving them the desired instruction, she orders them to go shopping for clothes, hold hands, feed each other, and finally, kiss, to which they object. They decline to continue once they discover that Arima is responsible for the bizarre training. They come across a swarm of Kagare trying to breach a breach to Magano as they stop to eat some ohagi. But Rokuro discovers as he is unable to control his arm because he's overused it during his battle with Ito as they try to exorcise them. Then Benio uses all of her remaining spell power to restore him to normal. They are relieved when Subaru shows up to obliterate the Kagage and close the breach after finding themselves besieged. When they get home later, she has completely renovated their home. Rokuro yells at her to depart after she informs them that the next phase of their training will involve practicing their nightly marital practices. With Rokuro and Benio, Subaru and Tatara begin a game of hide and seek, promising to train them if they can locate her. Following her across the city in vain, the two of them discover another breach to Magano. Subaru revealed the Kagare to be fake once Rokuro and Benio had defeated it because she wanted to see how closely they were connected and how much they trusted one another. Benio meets with Kamui once more. Kamui is one of the Basara, the strongest Kagare and the person responsible for killing Saki's parents, Hyoga and Saki, 6 years ago. Benio is desperate for retribution but finds herself helpless in front of Kamui until Rokuro shows up to intervene. Want to find out if Rokuro defeats the strongest Kagare? Stay tuned for part 2.